Cat Cabaret on the lake, and this is our first summer cabaret season. Thank you. And well, we're doing something we've never done before tonight. Not only are we recording this live on our Are You Famous Yet podcast, but thanks to Ronan, our Time Lord vocalist and guitarist tonight, we are live streaming this event as well.
On Twitch, right?
What a guy.
Twitch. Yeah. Okay. So, I'm going to tell you a little bit about 3 Cat Productions before we begin. And 3 Cat is what we call an artist incubator in Chicago, and we do all new work. So no Oklahoma, it's all new.
What about ours taking old place?
And it's all a safe space to try new things, experimentation. So it's very exciting, and I'm very excited. Oh, I'm Laura Scruggs, and I'm the curator and creative producer for this. So, and tonight we also have a guest host, Jake Scruggs, also my husband. And a fabulous lineup. Very excited to have comedy and storytelling and music tonight. So, without any further ado.
Oh, we've got some more further ado.
Okay, yes.
I believe our podcast sponsors this event.
That's true, too.
We, the Are You Famous Yet podcast, sponsor this whole thing.
It's true.
Which means pretty much nothing except that we get to talk about it a little bit right now. So we have this podcast called Are You Famous Yet? If you were to Google Are You Famous Yet, you would find it. It's on iTunes and all places you can find a podcast. And we interview artists trying to make a living as an artist. Doing it for about 200 some episodes, getting close to 5 years. Mm-hmm. Woo! Woohoo! Yeah. So we're out there.
Really friendly, Carl. Thank you.
Yeah.
Good.
Also, this performance over here.
Welcome. Are you here for the cabaret?
Yes.
Oh, you're in the right place. Come on in. Welcome. Yeah, you're also welcome. I can add another. Is that good? Yes. All right. Come on in. Here, pardon me. Let me move that thing down. All right.
Okay.
Okay.
Should you want to promote this a little bit? The thing that's happening over here?
We have the last weekend of Spark, a brand new musical, and it is an LGBTQ themed play, but it's not really about being gay. That's how I've heard it described.
And it's a musical.
Materials. Yeah. It's interesting about transitions in life. To the mothers of a young son going out on his own for the first time, going to college, and then maybe some older gentlemen. And perhaps they might have even more in common than they thought. So anyway, it closes this weekend. Only 2 more performances tomorrow. 2 more chances to see it, 4 and 7:30 p.m. So.
Okay. All right. Here we go, folks. I'm going to ask Laura to sit down now, and then I'm going to do some jokes about her. All right. Hi, I'm Jake Scruggs. I'm about to read my own intro. Jake grew up in Lansing, Illinois, the son of a sculptor and a writer, and spent his pre-30s getting 2 degrees in education and teaching for the better part of a decade. In 2004, he turned an apprenticeship into a career as a software developer. Executive producing his wife's documentary, Uncle Fun, You're the One, has involved mostly sound editing, tech support, and funding. He also co-hosts and produces the podcast Are You Famous Yet? Already heard, with Laura. She is the co-host. I took a stand-up class 5 years ago. This will be my 2nd performance ever.
Yes!
When asked to do this a few months ago and I had a couple of drinks in me, I said, sure, because it's like months in the future, right? And so you're fine. So I decided that the best way to do this would be to talk about my wife, Laura, because I can never really do this unless people know her, right? So you've all seen her, you know she exists. I'm not making this person up. So a lot of times I get this question of, is she like this all the time? You know what I mean? Like, you look at her and you're like, this is like, what's going on there? And the shorter answer is, no, but yes. Surprising amounts of yes. Hey, folks, there's actually some chairs stacked up there in the back.
I'm gonna keep right there.
And my wife Laura is gonna help you out.
We don't believe that she's really your wife.
I don't know what to tell you. In 2003, I got married. It's all legal, I'm told. So, what I'm going to try and do is explain a little bit what it's like to be married to Laura. So, let's go back in time. The year was 2001. It was the summer of 2001. Nothing bad could ever happen. I fell in love and went on a date with my lovely wife. And we went to her tiny, tiny, tiny studio apartment. It's one of those places where, like, when you open the door swings through the entire kitchen. Like, that's it. You cannot stand in the kitchen. And the kitchen was like a stove and like a sink with like a counter. It was like a 2-inch strip right between them. And so I'm trying to be a good boyfriend. I'm cleaning up. I'm kind of moving some stuff around. And I open up the fridge, and there's like 5 pizza boxes in there. And I go, all right, here we go. Let's just consolidate all the pizza down to one box, then get rid of the rest of these boxes, right? And she looks at me like, hey, no, I'm saving it for a craft. I'm like, I don't understand. She's like, well, I'm going to make a craft out of the pizza boxes. Well, why do they have to be in the fridge? And like, that's not, Laura doesn't believe in the hierarchy of storage. Like, I don't know, but you believe in this. Like, you believe that when things are in the refrigerator, they need to be cold, right? And then if they don't need to be cold, you put them somewhere else. If something needs to be used all the time, you keep it sort of nearby, not maybe up on top of something or underneath a pile of something else. But it's not a very Laura way of looking at things. This took a while to get used to. Midway through the dinner, stuff started catching on fire, which was kind of exciting. She had sort of lit all these candles everywhere, which looks very dramatic and is very awesome. But you know, in movies, when they do that, they have a dude who's in charge of making things don't burn, right? So we had all these candles like all over her place, and like her bat earrings caught on fire, which were dangling from something, I don't remember what. And then like, after we put out the fire, stuff just started falling off of the walls. So there was all this like cool stuff you cut out from magazines like all over the walls, right? Like, you know, fun things. And then they just fall and go, whoop. And I would look over there and she'd go, whoop, oh well. And it would just keep happening. Years later, I would be like, what was that all about? And she was like, oh, well, I really like you. So I spent time rearranging all the stuff on my walls before you came over, because that's how she flirts with people, right? When she redesigns her walls. But of course the tape doesn't stick so well when you move it, right? So of course everything just kept falling down throughout the dinner. It was a delightful dinner. It was good stuff. What else? Okay, so this is all very charming. Laura, she worries a lot. You can probably look at her and see that she's a worrier, right? It's got that worry lines all over. I sometimes call it the wrinkly, when she gets like this kind of wrinkly right up there, and it makes me sad. But a lot of times she thinks that somebody else is offended. So I'm constantly getting in trouble for teasing her sister. Like her sister, well, I may have once jokingly accused her of stealing money from orphans. Laura was not happy about this at all. Now, in my defense, like, who goes to Haiti like 4 times and sets up stuff for orphans, you know? Like, he's one of those great people who's always like finding money for other poor people, and you're like, what a great person, right? But you gotta give him a little bit of crap. You gotta like go, yeah, you're just taking all that money for yourself. That did not stand. Laura was upset. Now the worst thing is I can see Katie laughing. Like, she's in the room. I'm not making fun of her behind her back. Her sister's over there cracking up, and Laura's just giving me the business about, no, don't say that about Katie. Another great thing is that she's convinced that people dislike her. There is this, like, crabby guy at church, right? And Laura's, you know, she's big Laura, she loves everybody, and well, she was like, that guy doesn't like me, he's always giving me the stink eye. You know, I'm like, alright, that's cool, not everybody's gonna love Laura. But then he keeps showing up to all her plays. And before we know it, he loves her. It turns out, yeah, that's just his face. He's got the face, you know, I understand, but you know, it's like Laura just, I think there's this whole idea of judgment that she always She always feels. Her sister Katie came up with this great phrase. Laura always thinks she's going to get fired, and then they give her an award. And this has happened. Like, she was nominated for like the Golden Apple Teacher Award at this place that was terrible place. And she was always convinced she was going to get fired. And I kept saying, like, no, you're showing up. Like, most of the teachers don't. So, like, you're going to be fine. But she was always convinced she was going to be fired. One of the greatest things about Laura is that people, they have no idea what to do with her, right? So I sometimes see, like, weird reactions to her. Like that dog. Like, she was once in this, like, master's degree class, and she said, oh, hey, casual friend of somebody else, why don't we work together in a group? To which this person, having sized Laura up as a goofball, said, like, okay, but we're going to have to really work, right? A little bit condescending. And then I later got, like, feedback from my friend, who was her boyfriend, that she was really upset that Laura got all her stuff in before her. Because Laura, like, is a worker. She will be it done before you think about getting ready. It's kind of intimidating a little bit. Okay, let's wrap up. Oh, well. Also, there's this weird thing about, like, guys think crazy means easy. Have you remember that? Like, if you dress crazy, act kind of crazy, they think you're gonna have sex with them. Like, it's just a weird guy thing. Like, it's dream girl. Yeah, a manic pixie dream girl sort of thing, right? Yeah, and so, like, yeah, that's not gonna work with Laura, right? She's a bit loyal. The best way to tease Laura is to say things like, "Oh, you really like that Tom Cruise, don't you? Like, you want to just give him a big hug, don't you?" Like, no. All right, I gotta wrap this up because we got so much more to do. Okay, best parts of being married to Laura. Let's finish strong. So we go to sell my car. My car has been collecting tickets forever. It's been collecting, we're going to tow you because we think you're abandoned. It collects leaves. And I realize I don't really need this car, right? So I should get rid of it. So one day we spend our Sunday going to CarMax, and Laura's just all excited. She's just having a great time. And I'm like, what's going on? She's like, well, this is fun. This is like something married people do. You know, they're going to sell cars. And I was like, yeah, because we were kind of newly married. And she was just all like happy, like, here we are doing a thing married people do. We're doing it. What's happening? Very exciting, very exciting. When I tried on my sunglasses for the first time, you don't even need to care where these sunglasses came on. But I put them on, I turned to Laura, she literally ran out of the room. She went, whoop, and then ran out of the room. And I was like, what, is that a joke? Are we doing a bit? No, like that she was just like, I was too sexy for her to handle it at the particular moment, so she had to run out of the room. Like, there's nobody else around, she's not doing this for anybody else, it's just her. Very strange. This is a classic Laura story. So, when we went to see our play, one of our first plays we ever saw together, at intermission, she turns to me and goes, hey, you want to run around? I'm like, what? Run around, you know, like, go outside? No, she means literally go outside and run around, like chase each other, perhaps. And I'm like, no. Like, I'll watch, right? And then she kind of ran around, and what am I going to do? I kind of chased her around, you know, like, it's kind of the best way to do something in an intermission. You know, like, I mean, you think about it, you've seen a play, you get up, you kind of get your heart pumping, you know, and you're ready to go back in and do the next 45 minutes or whatever. But it was one of those things where I never would have thought of it. If I saw somebody else doing it, I would have thought it was dumb, and yet here I am married to this person. And I think that summarizes the whole thing, is like, if you would have found me 30 years ago and said, well, this is the person you're going to marry, I would have been like, this is crazy. And yet, she's a delight, and I love being married to her, and we've been married since 2003 and plan to be married forever. So, it's this bizarre thing of like, who is this person, and how am I married to her? That's all I got, folks. All right, next up, we have writer Amy Curator, who has been on the podcast 3 times. Amy is a Chicago playwright whose work will be in the Chicago 1 Minute Play Festival, June 26th and 27th, and also has a play reading at the Jarvis Square Pottery on June 27th. Please welcome Amy.
This is a mostly true story. This is called A Review of Waiting for Godot for the Rochester Democrat and Chronicle, November 7th, 2016, by Amy Clark. Dear editor, I was recently appalled to learn that, Sam, the theater critic, you will not be reviewing the once-in-a-lifetime production of Waiting for Godot, coming all the way from Ireland to the Baron von Steuben Theater here this week in a limited engagement. As an avid theater goer and sometime dilettante, I have written this review for your consideration. You're welcome. I arrived at the theater and took my seat in the front row of the balcony with a great view of the stage, set with a November-looking backdrop fit for the season, a bare tree, and a large round rock like a poof. It was all appropriately bleak and beautiful. As the crowd came in, some carrying plastic cups of beer that I prayed they wouldn't set on the railing above the orchestra seats, my eyes were drawn to a blue wave in the mass of faces below, a row of empty seats, at least 6. I knew the show was supposed to have been sold out, and I anxiously wondered at this void. Where were they? Almost the whole row? What had kept them, and what void would now be in their lives from having missed this marvel, a production we were lucky to get only because we're on the thruway on the way to the greater city of Buffalo. Estragon entered the stage and took his seat on the rocky roof. The crowd hushed for several moments, but nothing more happened as it was 15 minutes to showtime, so presently the crowd resumed its chatter. I wondered what he could hear and if the murmur of an American crowd is audibly different from the audience of his home in Ireland. His eyes were cast downward, his large hands on his knees, still as a tree. I would have liked the audience to sit and watch him silently for that 15 minutes, but some people must be continually in conversation. I checked my watch at 7:30, irritated by the late arrival of much of the audience. Most galling of all was that none of them looked at all embarrassed or ashamed, strolling in to take their seats as if walking in a park. I saw no sorries mouthed from them as they squeezed through the narrow aisles past those of us on time. Some of them even carried in Starbucks coffees. Knowing they were running late, they still had stopped for lattes. Infuriating. The announcement came on to switch off our phones. I had done so before leaving the house, of course. But as the house lights went down, I was chagrined to see the brightly illuminated face of a woman who had waited until then to turn off her phone. She was more noticeable than Estragon himself for 10 long seconds, and I wished the earth would open and swallow her. At last, the show could start. I had never seen Waiting for Godot, despite my advanced age and theater habit, and had read it 35 years ago in college, perhaps before you were born. But certainly not before most of the audience's birth, which by appearances reached far back to before the Second World War. So I approached this night with virgin ears. I was delighted by the comedic interpretation of the production, and more delighted that the audience laughed at the right places, and rewarded the precise humorous movements and timing of the actors with an appropriate jollity. I was, however, distracted by the high, showy laugh of one woman behind me, whose lone peal sounded several times when the rest of the audience was quiet. I found that embarrassing, to say the least. Unfortunately, the act of laughing seemed to irritate the lungs of many of this rather aged audience, so that on the heels of the merry chuckles rose a chorus of hideous coughs. Like a monk's antiphonal chant, the coughs echoed back and forth across the theater like a salutation in response. The coughs increased as the act wore on, and I would like to take this opportunity to apologize to our Irish friends for the pulmonary weakness engendered by a lifetime of living in a land where bitter winter lasts from October to June. Lucky did his big speech and collapsed onto the stage to appreciative applause. As a marvelous moon floated over the stage in a twilight glow, the act ended on a final bullfrog-like cacophony of phlegm and spittle. I couldn't help notice that no one coughed during the intermission. I stayed in my seat to watch a man on a stepladder attach 3 green and red striped leaves to the bare tree and arrange the pair of shoes at the edge of the stage. When the woman next to me returned from the lobby, she turned to me. "Have you seen this before?" she asked. "No, but I've read it." "How does it end?" I think she was truly hoping that Godot would show up. She proceeded to open a little bag of pretzels she'd bought at the bar, and I observed with alarm that she was going to eat them next to me during the second act. I tried to tune out the sound of her munching as the play and the coughing resumed. To my relief, the woman behind me had stopped laughing on her own. I tried to concentrate, fearing now that maybe I was missing something important. The play was building up to Pazzo's great crescendo of a speech, when I was disturbed by something white moving in the corner of my eye. A woman to the left and one row behind me was fanning herself with her program, the motion of the fan moving in and out of my field of vision. How I longed, if not to murder everyone there, to release some gas that would paralyze the entire audience, stop their breathing and shuffling and hacking and fanning, and just let them be still for 30 minutes. "We are born astride a grave," Pazzo thundered, and my attention was drawn back to the stage. Despair rolled toward me from the bleak, blasted set, as Vladimir Nestragon looked at us all and saw nothing but bones, murk, a charnel house. Maybe I was dead. Maybe all these noisome people were ghosts trying to attract the attention of the living. "Have I slept while others suffered?" Vladimir asked. There was a gentle snore beside me. The woman to my left had fallen asleep, her head pressed against her fist, tightly clutching the bag of pretzels. From this moment, I waited. I felt something would happen. It became quiet, or somehow I had become deaf to all these restless shades. One moment took me, absorbed me, I can't say why. In a moment of blessed silence, Vladimir asked the boy, demanding but pleading, "Will you tell him that you saw me?" To be seen in the dim theater, a ribbon threaded through every restless hip and shoulder and croaking lung, through all their hearts, into and through my heart, connecting us all in a tide of human souls, one community, a community of struggling, imperfect beings, and the irritation and hatred that had hovered like a fog over my eyes melted into a moment. Could it last? A moment of breathless understanding of our common humanity. The audience gave a standing ovation, I'm glad to say, and I ignored as best I could the fragments I overheard behind me of "not my kind of thing." The sleeping woman awoke in time to stand and applaud, turning to me with a quizzical air. A pretzel was embedded in her cheek. "There's a pretzel stuck on you," I said. She pulled it off and charmingly popped it in her mouth. I could have kissed her. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Amy. Now we're moving on to slide guitar master John Spiegel. John Spiegel has been fascinated with music and storytelling since he was a small boy. His mother was a great musician and his pop was a confirmed long-form joke teller. John grew up telling all kinds of stories from the stage as a musician, his primary career. He moved to Chicago from the East Coast after graduating from Harvard 30 years ago and has worked with the Old Town School, the Goodman Theater, Blue Man Group, the Lyric Opera, the Northlight, and many others. He's a songwriter and a playwright, and most recently rediscovered storytelling. He has told stories in Chicago at Story Jam, Do Not Submit, Illinois Storytellers, 10 by 9, and Cabaret on the Lake. Welcome.
That's half of my show. Thank you. Oh my God. the other half of my show. How you doing? Is this too loud or is this okay? Okay. All right. I'm going to play a couple of songs. And this is a rare opportunity where you, the audience, can participate in what I might choose to play. The first song is fast, but it has a good rhyme. And the second song is, oh heck, I'm gonna play the second song, who am I kidding? This is a song about menacing and foreboding and just interesting bodies of water that just exist or are ceasing to exist in the world these days. So there we go. We'll have a question and answer afterwards in case you were wondering what the hell I'm talking about. Here we go. Oh, God. Forgive me a little bit. I just got out of the hospital. Late bunch of trains spit out my elderly mother, our old church deacon, the 3 ex-wives of my brother. Good people, I should never have to explain why I will never go back to Lake Pontchartrain. Nippersink Creek gave me such pains when I paddled upstream one time with Claude Rains. Good people, it's stankier than you would think to get caught without a paddle up the old Nippersink. Rustled 600 head of cattle through there. One wrong left turn, those steers swam free. How I detest that dry Arrow Sea. On the river curve, well, I just took a big chance when I loved. When I lost my only pair of pants. Oh, the indignities I had to endure on that slow boat ride down the river Core. Walton Pond, I just took a pass. Hank Thoreau was such a pompous ass. Got caught speeding, couldn't go my bond. Spent 3 days in the pokey next to Walton Pond. Lake Pontchartrain spit out my elderly mother. Old church deacon, the 3 ex-wives of my brother. Good people, I should never have to explain why I should never return. Why I should never return. Why I should never return. Why I should never return to Lake Pontchartrain. And now, for the conclusion of the program, this is a song. I was homeless for a little while, and this happened to me in 2016, and the thing that I want to tell you, I wasn't homeless for a very long time, but the thing that I can tell you about homelessness is that, like a lot of times we see these guys who are standing like under the bridge and, have a sign and do whatever, and we figure that they're somehow working it out, because there are programs available to them that they could be getting or doing whatever. But the truth is that like actual homelessness compared to like our conception of homelessness, if you have not actually been homeless, has anybody been homeless in this audience? I mean, I'm not trying to embarrass anybody, so don't feel like you have to raise your hand or anything if you have. But if you the actual state of homelessness is way worse than the concept of homelessness, and what I went through when I was actually homeless was really sucky. I mean. That's not nearly a good enough word to use to express to talk about it. But anyway, I wrote a song one night that I still had a gig, I still had income, but it still wasn't enough to work out a place for me to live. So I still had to live in a shelter, and it was still pretty terrible. And my family kind of embarrassed me. It was really, they abandoned me is what I meant to say. But anyway, so I wrote this song about the experience, which I'll share with you now. And that's that. So sorry about my shaking hand. It's part of the Lutheran Advocate hospital experience. If you go there and you check out, probably, I don't know how long this is going to last, but for some of the time after you check out, you're gonna have a shaky slide guitar hand. Any slide guitarists in here? Because you will, if you are a slide guitarist, you will have a shaky left hand anyway. Oh, I am feeling so alone, without a home, without a home, so very lonesome, so alone, without a home, without a home. And I'm so gone. I'm so gone. And I'm so gone. And I'm so gone. And when I go to call a friend, there's no one there on the other end. I ride a tunnel around the bend, but there's no light there on the end. And I'm so gone. I'm so gone. And I'm so gone. So very gone. Setting sun is going down, covered up by hungry ground. Grim Reaper goes town to town. My setting sun is going down. And I'm so gone, so very gone. 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 That's a cheery song. I hope it's that wasn't too much too brutal for anybody. Anybody have any questions about the water song? Okay.
Well, I do have just one quick question.
Yeah.
Because Lake Nippersink you said these were things that were disappearing?
Nippersink is not.
Oh, okay.
Nippersink is hanging around. It's not
Okay.
going anywhere. It's it is where it's still up in Wisconsin.
Okay.
That's where Jesus lost his sandals, way west.
Yeah. Right. Yes. Yeah.
It's about the Jim May.
Yeah. It's a there's a bunch of different places there.
Oh, okay.
The River Kerr, where I lost my pants.
Yeah.
Where I took a big chance.
Yeah.
Lost my only pair of pants. Okay, this is the end of the show right here. Thank you very much.
Thank you, John Spiegel. Once again, folks. Here we are as this lovely day turns into evening. Next up, we have storyteller W.C. Williams, accompanied by Ramblin' Rose. W.C. Williams. Known professionally as Afram Bill Williams, is a native of the Mississippi Delta and a playwright, poet, and short story writer. He has appeared with Steppenwolf Theater in such productions as Balm and Gilead, Tracers, Curse of the Starving Class, Of Mice and Men, One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. He helped adapt and appeared in Remains Theater production of Moby Dick, has appeared on Broadway, the Kennedy Center, the Royal Shakespeare Theater in London, as well as on the stage at Los Angeles. His film credits include Flatliners, The Fugitive, Chain Reaction. Mr. Williams resides in Inglewood community of Chicago with his wife, Linda Bledsoe Williams. Lydia, I suck. All right, we have a whole other introduction to read. Ramblin' Rose is a blues singer, composer, musician, Goodman Theater generation storyteller, line dancer, and fashion designer. Her band, Ramblin' Rose and the 290 East Ramblers, just finished an 8-concert series with Chicago Park District, Night Out in the Parks. She's performed as one of the Chicago Women in the Blues for many years, as well as at the 2010 Blues Festival in Grant Park. Rose will be performing at 3 Chicago Park District concerts: Shed Park, July 3rd, Wells Park, July 10th, and Brown Memorial Park, August 18th, and Wilson Dixie Blues Heaven, August 2nd. Dios mío. All right, welcome everybody.
We have a husband, Ken Kelly, who's gonna also do some musical accompaniment.
Wonderful.
He's a blues musician.
Yes. Yes. Now, how do I know how to do that? When you say turn the knob, I feel like you know what you're talking about. Maybe you could help. Oh, look at that.
That's good. That's it, bro.
You're doing stuff. I got it.
All right.
Knob tightened.
Okay.
Thank you.
No problem.
You've got your story, and I've got mine. You've got your story through the rain and the sunshine. Life is like a blank page. You can write it, just think it, believe it, and you can receive it. So step out of the darkness into the
nervous when I arrive at the train station in Winona. Be cool, I remind myself. Just be cool. Just like you were in prison. Be cool. That's one thing I learned in prison. Be cool. I look at the clock on my friend Leroy's car, and it says 8:58. The train should be here 9:11. That's what the local people call it, the 9:11. I figure I'll take it to Memphis, and when I get to Memphis, I'll take a bus to St. Louis, and then I'll take the bus from St. Louis to Chicago. Now, I know that's kind of roundabout way, but I'm breaking parole. I'm leaving Mississippi. I spent 5 years in prison, and I'm 21 years old, and I'm out here on parole, and it's worse than it was in prison. So I figure I gotta leave because this guy I'm working for, we're gonna come to blows one day or something because he's mistreating me, he's calling me all kinds of names, and I gotta leave. But 5 years in prison didn't seem so bad now. I was kind of scared when I first got there, but I was not intimidated. Somehow, I felt like I had been there before. Just like right now. I feel like I've been here before. My father in Chicago had tried to get me on an out-of-state parole, but they wouldn't give it to me, which usually they didn't do for black prisoners anyway. They would only do it for white prisoners. So there I am. I'm over the time that I should be getting out on parole, over 5 years. So I'm kind of desperate. I want to get out. I'm 21 years old now, right? And I've heard so much stuff from people about how great it is outside. I was 16 when I came in. So they offered me a job to work at a dairy farm, and I took it. I really, really wanted out. But like I said, getting out was worse than being in prison. I think a lot of days about how easy I had it in prison. I was a cook, I was a houseboy, I worked for one of the higher administration officials and his wife. They have 4 children. The wife is 27, the husband's 26, but she has a bad heart. So my purpose to come there was to be the cook, do all the work around the house and all that. She was surprised that I like country music. In fact, I knew more about it than she did. And after a while, I got him and her. They both like soul music. They liked the Delphonics, they liked the Impressions, and they liked Otis Redding. I remember the day Otis Redding died. I was in the kitchen cooking, and they said it on the radio. And she came in there, she said, "Otis Redding died?" I go, "Yeah, that's what they said." And she said, "Wow, I really liked him." And she sat down and she started crying. And I said, "Wow." And I started crying a few tears too. I mean, I don't know what it was, something about it. I was sad that Otis died, but just the fact that she sat down and started crying. And she said, "Wow, Willie, I don't know." And I said, "I don't know either." And then she left out, and a few weeks later, I was in the kitchen, and I heard the radio again, WDIA. They said, "We got a new Otis Redding song here." And I said, "Wow, a new Otis Redding song." I like the melody. My body started to sway because this is different. This is something different from Otis.
Sitting on the sun, I'll be sitting when the morning comes, watching the ships roll in, and I'll watch them roll away again. Sitting dark
I'm dancing. I opened my eyes and I look up and she's in there dancing with me. She's swaying back and forth with me. And then the song goes off and she just looked at me and she said, "That is a really great song by Otis Redding. They must have did that before he died or something." I go, "Yeah, I guess so." And a look passes up between us and then she breaking the silence. She said, "That girlfriend that still coming to see you?" She said, "Charles." My husband said, "So you got a pretty girl coming to see you." I laughed. I said, "She all right, miss." She said, "Well, you better not say that to her." And we both laughed. She goes up front to her bedroom. And I'm standing there just thinking about the Otis Redding song and how much it just, it's like something you would write if you knew you were gonna die, I guess. I mean, that was quite a song. So then I'm like thinking, how can Otis be dead? How can he be dead? And I think back, wow, I could be dead. I mean, anybody could be dead.
This is no rehearsal. This is the real deal. This is no practice, 'cause it's really real. Tell me your story and I'll tell you mine. Believe it or not, I ain't lying. So step out of the darkness into the light, knowing your heart is gonna be alright. Step out of the darkness into the light, knowing your heart is gonna be alright. It's gonna be alright. Yes, it is. It's gonna be alright. It's gonna be alright. It's gonna be alright. It's gonna be alright.
I get out of my friend's car. I offer him some money, but he doesn't take it. He said, "I'll see you when you get back, man." I go, "Yeah. Day after tomorrow, I think. If she ain't too sick." I told him my aunt's sick and I gotta go see her. I don't let him know I'm not planning on coming back. So he pulls off. He got Clarence card in the car, slip away. And I'm thinking, yeah, that's exactly what I'm doing, slip away. So he pulls off and I go into the station. After a minute, the ticket man looks up. He said, "Yeah, what can I do for you?" I go, "How much is a round trip ticket to Memphis?" He goes, "You got any luggage?" I go, "No, I'm going to get my stuff now and I'm going to bring it back." So he says, "Oh, $9.80. I counted out and I put it on the counter. He handed me my money back with the ticket and he puts it in the palm of my hand. I'm going like, this is different. We never used to do that before. You had to put your money on the counter, they put it back on the counter, and you picked up the money off the counter. They don't give it to you in your hand." So I take my money and he says, "Well, she should be here in about 5 or 6 minutes." He goes, "You can wait. That waiting room over there, this one over there, they got 2 waiting rooms. Used to be a white waiting room and a black waiting room. But now, the signs are all gone. But the white people in the old white waiting room, and there's some black people in the old black waiting room." So I said, "Well, I guess I'll go out on the platform and wait. 'Cause I don't want to, I don't want the cops to pull up or something and, they recognize me because when you come out on parole, they know who you are. They got your picture and everything. I don't want to know that I'm leaving." So I walk out on the platform. I get out there, and there's an old man and his son. I recognize the old man because I've been to a juke joint up and he plays blues. He plays the blues, and he's got a son. His son's got a guitar. And he tells his old man, "Hey, listen, Pop, I wrote this song while I was down there." I guess it's his dad or something. He said, "I wrote this song while I was down there." He said, "Take a listen to it."
My sweet home is Chicago. That's where we call the wind the hawk. sweet home is Chicago. Go down by the river wall.
Now while he's playing, there's a young white woman on the other side of the platform, on the other side of the yellow line, and she comes over and she's listening to the music. She's really liking it, I guess, or something. She comes over to that side. Well, I walk out and I look down the tracks to see if the train is coming or something, anything. I don't want to be, I don't want to be in that scene. So off in the distance, I think I hear a train whistle. In fact, yeah, that's it. Yeah, that's getting closer. All right. And then I look down the track and I see a light coming toward me. My heart is really pounding now. I'm like, man, just get on the train. But I look around the corner of the building, a police car pulls up. And I'm like, okay. So the train pulls up and it stops. And the people come out, the white people come out, they load them first, and then the black people. And I get in the line, I'm like, I gotta get on this train, So I get on the train, I get a conductor my ticket, he tears it off, and gives me part of it back. He says, keep this. And I go on, I get me a seat on the far side of the train, away from the platform windows. But I can see that the policeman has gotten out of his car, and he's walking toward the ticket man who has the baggage thing, and he's bringing them out to the train. They start laughing and talking and all that, so I start feeling a little better. He's not really looking for me. So he throws all the luggage in, and they go back inside, and I begin to relax. Wow, but the train's still not moving. I'm like, come on, let's go, let's go, let's go. And then I hear all aboard. And then the train begins to move.
The only thing you own is your story. So go ahead and be happy. Don't you worry. If you're happy and you know it, go right ahead and show it. And step out of the darkness into the light.
Yeah.
Knowing your heart
Moving now.
will be alright.
Pulling on.
Out of the darkness into the light.
Getting faster.
Knowing your heart is
And
gonna
faster.
be alright.
All the lights are gone. We're out in the city now. The train is moving. It's moving through the countryside. I can't see nothing out there but the darkness and an occasional light. And I am happy. I'm happy. I'm going to Chicago. I'm going to the promised land. I can't wait to cross the Tennessee line and be out of Mississippi. I don't know how long I'm going to be there. I don't know if somehow or the other they find out I'm on broken parole up there or what. I don't care. I just want to get to Chicago. I want to get a job. I want to go to school. I want to finish my education. And I'm in Tennessee, and I take the bus to St. Louis. And I take the bus from I take a Greyhound bus to St. Louis, and I take a trailway to Chicago. Took me about 2 days. I didn't want to go right there in case they're looking for me, but knowing what I know now, I know they weren't looking for me. But that was my thought process at the time. And I came to Chicago, and that was 50 years ago. In August, late August. It'll be 50 years that I've been here. And I've managed to do quite a few things that I wanted to do. I kept a job, retired from 37 years, did some theater with Steppenwolf, and I see some of my compatriots are here tonight. And I'm happy. My wife Lydia is in the office, in the audience, who gave me emotional support on the way up here, because I said, I'm not going to read the script. I'm going to just take some notes, and I'm going to try to read it off. I'm going to try to memorize it. So this is it. And I thank you for listening. And I thank Rose for to Baba and Pooja and my wife Lydia. I wanted to glad together. Thank you. Thank you very much.
All right, everybody. We're coming up on our last performer. This is Time Lord band vocalist and guitarist Roland Cohn. All right. All right, wait, who knows who Doctor Who is?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. Raised in upstate New York by a pack of wild folk musicians, Roland graduated from Northwestern University with a degree in theater. Faye went on to appear in shows at the Right Brain Project, The Living Canvas, and The Runaways Lab. Faye's solo singer-songwriter album Cracks was released in 2013, and Faye fronts the track band Time Crash. Schrock is Time Lord Rock, of course. We all know that. Which has released a full album, Regeneration, in 2014, and an EP, The Empty, in 2016. For more information, visit masshysteriamusic.com. Please welcome Ronan.
Hello, folks. Yes, so I'm going to try to fit in 3 songs. 2 are just sort of my own solo situations, and 1 is going to be one of the Time Lord ones. But this first one is just one of mine, and it's a song for a friend of mine. She had a smile like a solar eclipse. She liked to chase a whiskey shot with a kiss. She'd wear a flower for the apocalypse. I didn't know she'd be the one. She was a fire raising smoke to the sky. She was a missile loaded, ready to fly. Wish I remembered how I hugged her goodbye, but I didn't know she'd be the one. We all have someone who's the first one we know. There's always someone who's the first one to go. Until it happens, so you better be sure you could not love them anymore. I was a dancer who could not find their feet. I was a singer who could not find love. I left my answers for me so incomplete. I didn't know. What happens after is as old as the sun. Everyone wonders what else we might have done. That's the story when you're somebody's one. I hope there's flowers where you've gone. She had a smile like a solar eclipse. She liked to chase a whiskey shot with a kiss. She wore a flower for the apocalypse. I didn't know she'd be the one. So that song was for Dallas, and it's called Flower Girl. It's G-U-R-L. It's very important. So John here was, we were talking before the show, and he was asking for a little preview of what I was going to play. And this next song I described as my angry millennial song was the most succinct way I could think to sum it up. Yep, that's the chord. for a wasted youth. Maybe there's some hope in creative thinking. Maybe you won't care if you keep on drinking, scrolling Facebook, waiting for inspiration. Death is nothing more than a transformation. Let's get high and make out for the hell of it. Let's drink wine and be fucking elegant. Let's be trash and die for our favorite singers. Let's blow kisses off of our middle fingers. So you wished on a star, only to find out it fell. So you tossed it up more, but you only poisoned the well. So you aimed too high, cause you didn't know your place. Well, it's never too late to be a real disgrace. Don't know what to do when it isn't funny. Don't know how to have fun without spending money. Couldn't bear to live if we couldn't flout it. Let's get wasted, then we'll write songs about it. Staying young as long as we can sustain it. Eat hypocrisy till we can't contain it. Live the life you want, everyone is dying. Just think lovely thoughts and wait to start flying. Alright, so Jake already took the poll that I was going to take, which was how many even know Doctor Who or have ever seen an episode. So I will preface this last song with a little bit of explanation. The Doctor is an alien who travels time and space, usually with his human companion at his side, who's like the audience cipher. But in one of the early episodes of the reboot, getting all sci-fi technical there, they visit a space station at the literal end of the solar system, meaning it's 5 billion years in the future and the sun is about to explode. End of the solar system. And humans are still kicking about, technically. They've gone and, had some fun with some other races, and their genes are still out there, but there's this one character who is the very last human. The last pure human. She's had about 700 trips to the plastic surgeon. She is now literally like a canvas of skin stretched inside of a frame. And this is a song about her. Yeah. And how the hell do I play it? Yes. All right. So this is The Last Human. I'm one high maintenance lady, work a natural art. I kept my lips for speaking, left no room for a heart. I'm the very last human. Now when I roll through the doorway, a mobile vision of grace, a truly mesmerizing trampoline with a face. Won't find one more like me in all of time and space. So 700 trips under the knife. Such is the cost of eternal life. Oh, look, as long as you like, no, I don't mind if you stare. I'm a museum piece, delicate, precious, and rare. I'm the very last human. So stretch me thin as a canvas and set me up with a frame. Got rid of all that sweat and left no room for a brain. How many more times do I have to explain that I am genetic perfection? The last word against natural selection. Oh, and it's true, there are some who despise me. Some
thanks so much for coming out tonight. And
Well, folks,
Okay, I guess
thanks for
that's
coming out.
yeah,
It's been a really great time.
yeah, thanks a lot. Come on down. We're here every second Friday night of the month, except for January as we take off. But every Friday, second Friday night.
Second Friday of the
Thanks
month.
for